Jesus' praises of Louisa. Have you seen how much I love you and how, not only in my heart, but in all of my attributes, I carry your name written, and your name written in me makes ever new currents of grace, of light, of love open for you. Not only in my heart but in all of my attributes, I carry your name written, and your name written in me makes ever new currents of grace, of light, of love open for you. Our Heavenly Mother hears Louisa praising her in the Fiat and praises Louisa in return, calling all creation to sing with her. Our divine will wants to hold nothing back. It wants to give everything to one who lets it form its kingdom in her soul. Now, you must know that just as you find, present in the divine Fiat, the creation of the Sovereign Lady, and you sing her praises as Queen, so did she find you present in the same divine Fiat and heard your singing. The Mama does not want to be outdone by the daughter. From that time she sang your praises to honor that divine will, which was to possess you. And in order to requite your singing, how many times she calls the heavens, the sun, the angels, and everything, to sing the praises of her little daughter who wants to live in that Fiat which formed all her glory, her greatness, beauty, and happiness. Remove every fear from your heart. See, I have brought you this globe of light to place it between you and me, and among those who approach you. For those who approach you with an upright heart and to do good to you, these little globes of light that come out will penetrate into their minds, will descend into their hearts, will fill them with joy and with celestial graces, and they will comprehend with clarity what I operate in you. Those, then, who will come with other intentions, will experience the opposite, and will be dazzled and confused by these little globes of light. Renewed and magnetized in the divine will. Little daughter of my volition, the surprises, the novelties, the secrets, the attractions that he possesses, are without number, and one who enters into him remains renewed, magnetized so much so, that one cannot, nor wants to, go out of it. One feels his divine empire that invests him, the celestial balm that changes one's nature, makes one arise again to new life. Now you must know that my divine will gives such empire to the creature who lives in him, that as she makes her littlest acts, she feels his rule. If she loves, she feels the rule of his love. If she speaks, she feels his creative force. If she works, she feels the empire, the virtue of his works that crowd themselves around. And ruling it with his own rule, they bring it to every heart in order to make him reign and dominate over each one. He feels his empire in the act of the creature and feels himself constrained to give into whatever is wanted in that act. If she wants to love, with her act she makes us love. If she wants that our will reign, with her empire she makes us come to pray that they receive him. An act in our volition is not stopped. It says to us, I am your act, you must give me whatever I want. It can say it takes a hold our power, duplicates it, multiplies it, and ruling, doesn't ask, but takes whatever its act wants. Even more so, in our volition, we ourselves don't want that there are dissimilar acts from ours. Therefore, we ourselves are the ones that make us reign and dominate.
Jesus became silent, and I don't even know to say that which I felt. My mind was so magnetized by his words and invested with his empire that I would have liked to put up life so that all might know of it. And my beloved Jesus, resuming his speech, said to me,
My daughter, there is nothing to marvel at. What I say to you is pure truth. My will is all and can do all, and to not put into our conditions one who lives in him is not of our supreme being. More so, one can see in us nature, and for one who lives in him, grace, participation, venting of our love, our will, so wants that the creature be, and therefore we want that it live in our volition. In order to have her acts and ours fused together and sound of one sound alone, of one value alone, of one love alone. And to resist an act of ours, we are neither able nor do we want. Rather, you must know that the living in our volition is unity, so much so, that if the creature loves, God is head of her love, so that the love of the one and of the other is one alone. If she thinks, God is head of her thought. If she speaks, God is beginning of her word. If the creature works, God is the first actor and worker of her work. If she walks, he sets himself head of her footsteps. Therefore, the living in my will is none other than the life of the creature in God, and that of God in her. To leave one who lives in our volition apart from our love, from our power, from our acts, it proves impossible. If one is the will, all the rest goes from itself, unity of love, of works, and of everything. Behold therefore that the living in our divine fiat is the prodigy of the greatest prodigies, never seen nor heard of. It is our exuberant love that cannot be contained. We wanted to do this prodigy that only a God can do in the creature, but the ungrateful one didn't accept. But we have not changed our will. In spite of our love having been opposed and repressed, that it makes us be racked with spasms of pain, we will use such excesses of love, such industries and stratagems, that we will arrive to the intent, that our will be one with the creature. Jesus calls Louisa his second mother.
I feel my poor mind as though fixed in the divine volition, and I was thinking to myself, how can his kingdom ever come upon earth? And besides, how can it come if it is not known? But while I was thinking about this, my always lovable Jesus, coming out of my interior, told me,
My daughter, in my works, I make use of human means, though I do the first part, the foundation and all the substance of the work that I want to do. And then I make use of creatures so that my work may be known and have life in the midst of creatures. So I did in redemption. I made use of the apostles in order to make it known, to propagate it and to receive and give the fruits of redemption. And if the apostles had not wanted to say anything of what I said and did in coming upon earth, and, closed in their muteness, had taken not one step, nor made one sacrifice, nor laid down their lives in order to make known the great good of my coming upon earth, they would have caused my redemption to die upon its rising. And the generations would have remained without the gospel, the sacraments, and all the goods which my redemption did and will do. This was my purpose, as in the last years of my life down here I called the apostles around me to make use of them as the proclaimers of what I had done and said. Oh, if the apostles had remained silent! They would have been responsible for the loss of so many souls if they had not known the good of redemption, responsible for so much good not done by creatures. But because they did not remain silent and they laid down their lives, they can be called, after me, authors and cause of so many souls being saved and of all the goods that have been done in my church, forming, as the first proclaimers, her unshakable pillars. It is our usual divine way that first we do our first act in our works, we place everything that is needed, and then we entrust them to creatures, giving them sufficient graces so that they may continue what we have done, and therefore our works become known according to the interest and the goodwill that creatures have. So it will be with the kingdom of my divine will. I called you as a second mother of mine, and one-on-one, just as I did with her in the kingdom of redemption, I manifested to you the many secrets of my divine fiat, the great good of it, and how it wants to come to reign upon earth. I can say that I have done everything. And if I called my minister so that you might open yourself in order to make it known, my intent was so that he would have interest in making known a good so great. And if this interest were not there on the part of those who should occupy themselves with it, they would put the kingdom of my will at risk of dying upon its rising, becoming, themselves, responsible for all the good that a kingdom so holy can bring. Or they would deserve that, putting them aside, I call others as proclaimers and propagators of the knowledges of my divine fiat. Until I find some who have interest and take to heart making known its knowledges, more than if it were their own lives, the kingdom of my will can have neither its beginning nor its life on earth.
After this, I continued my abandonment in the divine fiat, and my highest good, Jesus, added.
My daughter, in creation, it was my divine will that had its field of action. And although our divinity was concurrent, because we are inseparable from it, however, the prime act, the action, was all of our will. It spoke and it operated. It spoke and it ordered. We were the spectators of what our supreme volition was doing, with such great mastery, order, and harmony, that we felt worthily glorified and made twice as happy by our very will. Therefore, since creation is its work, the whole strength of creation and all the goods with which it was enriched are all in my supreme will. It is primary life of everything, and this is why it loves creation so much, because it feels its very life in all created things, and its very life flows in them. So much so, that in creating man, wanting to make greater display of its power, of its love and of its mastery, it wanted to enclose in him all the art of the whole creation. Not only this, but it wanted to surpass it, giving him such brush strokes of divine art as to make him the little God. And laying itself inside and outside of him, to the right and to the left, above his head and under his feet, I carried him within my divine will, as the outpouring of our love, and as the triumpher and admirer of its insuperable mastery. Therefore, it was the right of my divine fiat that man live only and always of divine will. What had it not done for him? It called him from nothing, it formed him, it gave him his being, and it gave him double life, the life of man and that of my divine will, in order to carry him always clasped in its creative arms, so as to preserve him beautiful, fresh, happy, just as it had created him. So, when man sinned, my fiat felt itself being snatched of that life which it carried in its very womb. What was not its sorrow? It remained with the void in its womb of this Son, for whom, with so much love, so as to keep him safe and happy, it had made room within its very life. And do you think that in redemption it was not my very divine will that incarnated itself in order to come to find the lost man? It was precisely it, because verbum means word, and our word is the fiat, which, just as in creation it spoke and created, in the same way, in redemption, wanted and incarnated itself. It was its empty womb that claimed this child who, with so much cruelty, had wriggled away. And what did this will of mine not do in redemption? But it is not yet content with what I did. It wants to fill its womb. It no longer wants to see man disfigured by sin, by dissimilarity from it, but it wants to see him adorned by the insignia of creation, adorned with its beauty and sanctity, and taking his place once again, inside its divine womb. The fiat voluntas tua on earth as it is in heaven is precisely this: that man return into my divine will, and only when it sees again its child happy, living in its house, with the opulence of its goods, then will it calm itself. And so it will be able to say, my child has come back, he is clothed in his royal garments, he wears the crown of king, he lives together with me, and I have given back to him the rights which I gave him in creating him. So, the disorder in creation is ended, because man has come back into my divine will.